Imagine standing in a crowded chapel, the air thick with incense and whispered prayers. Hundreds of people press forward, some crying, some kneeling, some frozen in silence. At the center of the room is a small statue of the Virgin Mary. And then, slowly, unmistakably, liquid begins to form beneath its eyes. Tears. Real tears. Witnesses gasp. Phones are raised. Faith surges through the room like electricity. Soon, scientists test the fluid. The results come back, chemically consistent with human tears. For many believers, moments like this feel undeniable, powerful signs that the divine is reaching into the physical world. Stories like these are shared across generations, across borders, across cultures. They inspire devotion, hope, and a deep sense of meaning. For over 1,000 years, the Catholic Church has documented thousands of extraordinary events that it claims defy the normal laws of nature. Statues that weep or bleed, bodies that resist decay for centuries, wounds that appear on the faithful without physical cause, and bread that is said to transform into living human tissue. These accounts are not confined to ancient manuscripts or whispered legends. Many are modern. Some were photographed. Some were filmed. Some were examined by medical professionals. Millions of people around the world point to these events as evidence that God still intervenes in human affairs. But what happens when we pause, not to mock belief, not to deny the possibility of the divine, but simply to ask careful questions? What happens when we follow the evidence where it leads, applying the same standards we would use for any extraordinary claim? This is not a story about faith versus science. It is a story about claims, evidence, and how human beings across all religions understand the world when belief, hope, expectation, and observation collide. Let's begin with one of the most visually striking claims: statues that cry. In 1953, in Syracuse, Sicily, a newly married couple reported that a plaster statue of Mary in their home began producing tears. News spread rapidly. Chemical analysis later suggested the liquid was compositionally similar to human tears. Pilgrims arrived. Clergy took notice. The event was framed by many as miraculous. Decades later, similar claims emerged elsewhere. In Akita, Japan, between 1975 and 1981, a wooden statue was reported to have wept over 100 times. Samples were collected. Tests reportedly identified tears, sweat, and even blood. For believers, this pattern repeated across cultures and continents felt deeply significant. But investigators who approach these cases with skepticism notice details often absent from devotional retellings. In documented instances where statues were examined closely, the liquid did not emerge from solid, sealed material. It appeared on hollow statues or statues with access points, cracks, seams, or openings hidden beneath clothing or hair. In several exposed cases, individuals were caught applying liquids manually, sometimes during moments of intense prayer when attention was diverted. There is also a less dramatic but well-understood explanation. Porous materials like plaster allow liquid to travel through microscopic channels via capillary action. If a liquid such as water, glycerin, or saline is placed inside or behind such a statue, it can slowly migrate to the surface, creating the appearance of spontaneous tears. Importantly, this does not mean the liquid is fake. In some cases, the liquid really was human tears because someone had placed human tears there. Chemical tests can confirm what a substance is, but they cannot determine how it arrived. From a multi-faith perspective, this distinction matters. Questioning whether an event requires a supernatural explanation is not the same as denying God's power. Many religious traditions, including Islam and Judaism, warn against attributing divine origin to events without clear evidence. Now consider a different kind of claim, one far more unsettling. Throughout history, the Catholic Church documented individuals whose bodies were said to remain remarkably preserved long after death. These incorruptible saints were sometimes exhumed decades or even centuries later. Their skin supple, their features recognizable, showing little visible decay. For generations, this was regarded as a sign of exceptional holiness. At one time, incorruptibility was even considered evidence in the process of canonization. But modern researchers began asking new questions. What were the burial conditions? What was the environment inside these tombs? What preservation methods were used at the time? A comprehensive study conducted by researchers at the University of Pisa examined the microenvironments of tombs containing incorruptible bodies. The findings were revealing. Many of these tombs had unusually low humidity, stable temperatures, limited oxygen flow, and specific soil or stone compositions that naturally inhibited bacterial growth. When some of these bodies were removed from their original tombs and exposed to normal air and humidity, they began deteriorating rapidly, exactly as biology would predict. Historical records added another layer. Many individuals later declared incorruptible had been embalmed using techniques available at the time: wax coatings, herbal treatments, honey preservation, or early chemical compounds. In some cases, these details were forgotten, lost, or de-emphasized over centuries of retelling. Eventually, even the Catholic Church itself reassessed the issue. Incorruptibility is no longer considered evidence of divine intervention. It is no longer a requirement for sainthood. The bodies were real. The preservation was real. But preservation alone does not require a supernatural explanation. Few religious phenomena are as emotionally powerful as stigmata, the sudden appearance of wounds resembling those attributed to Jesus' crucifixion. Throughout history, individuals have reported bleeding wounds on their hands, feet, or side, often during intense states of prayer or religious ecstasy. Witnesses describe the events as deeply moving, sometimes terrifying. One of the most famous cases was Therese Neumann, a German woman whose wounds reportedly appeared repeatedly over several decades. Medical professionals observed the wounds and confirmed that they were genuine injuries. So how could such wounds appear without an obvious physical cause? Modern psychology offers an explanation that is both unsettling and well documented. Under extreme emotional stress, intense belief, and prolonged religious focus, the human mind can produce real physical symptoms, a phenomenon known as conversion disorder or psychosomatic response. This is not speculation. Medical literature documents cases where belief and psychological stress produce paralysis, blindness, seizures, rashes, and bleeding without conscious intent or deception. One detail is particularly revealing. Stigmata almost always appear in locations consistent with religious art, not historical crucifixion practices. Roman crucifixions placed nails through the wrists, not the palms, because palms cannot support body weight. Yet stigmata appear on palms precisely where centuries of paintings depict Christ's wounds. This suggests that the wounds are shaped by imagery absorbed over a lifetime, not by historical reality. Investigators such as Joe Nickell found that modern stigmata cases are indistinguishable from unconscious self-injury or psychological manifestation. The suffering is real. The wounds are real. But a supernatural origin is not required to explain them. Perhaps no claim carries greater theological weight in Catholicism than Eucharistic miracles events in which communion bread is said to transform into literal human flesh and blood. The most famous case occurred in Lanciano, Italy, in the 8th century. Samples of the alleged flesh have been preserved for over a millennium. In the 1970s, tests reportedly identified cardiac tissue and human blood, findings often cited as definitive proof. Catholic sources long claimed that the World Health Organization had verified these results through hundreds of tests. But when researchers attempted to locate the original documentation, they encountered a problem. The WHO report did not exist. Dr. Franco Serafin, a cardiologist who examined these claims in detail, traced the supposed documentation and found that unrelated test data, likely from Egyptian mummies, had been inserted into miracle narratives, creating the appearance of scientific authority without verifiable origin. No peer-reviewed scientific journals published these investigations. Where tests occurred, they lacked controls, transparency, and repeatability. Many were conducted by researchers with explicit religious motivations. This does not mean believers were lying. It means the investigations did not meet the standards required for extraordinary claims. From a broader religious perspective, this issue is not unique to Christianity. Many traditions warn against confusing faith with proof or authority with evidence. In 1917, in Fatima, Portugal, tens of thousands of people gathered after hearing predictions of a miracle. According to later accounts, the sun appeared to dance, spin, change colors, and plunge toward Earth. This event is often cited as one of the most witnessed miracles in history. But contemporary records tell a more complex story. Astronomical observatories worldwide recorded no unusual solar activity. If the sun had physically moved, the event would have been detected globally. Eyewitness testimony reveals that not everyone present saw the same thing. Some saw nothing unusual at all. Others described different phenomena. Modern analysis suggests a combination of atmospheric conditions, cloud formations, optical effects, and mass expectation. Staring at bright light after anticipating a miracle can produce retinal afterimages and apparent motion. Psychological priming plays a powerful role in perception. Photographs from the event show people looking in different directions. Details commonly cited today, such as clothes drying instantly, do not appear in early accounts and were added later. Thousands saw something. But the evidence suggests that what they saw was not the sun-defying physics, but human perception responding to expectation. Lourdes, France, remains one of the most visited pilgrimage sites in the world. The Catholic Church officially recognizes 71 medically certified cures associated with the site. Over 150 years, millions of sick people have traveled there seeking healing. When examined statistically, the numbers raise difficult questions. 71 certified cures out of hundreds of thousands of severely ill pilgrims produces a rate similar to spontaneous remission observed in large populations. Medical literature documents rare but real cases where illnesses, including cancers, resolve without clear explanation. Notably, no cures were certified for decades as diagnostic standards improved. The most recent case, in 2009, was declared medically unexplained, not a miracle, but an unresolved case. Unexplained does not mean unexplainable. It means medicine has more to learn. Across all these categories, a consistent pattern emerges. Extraordinary claims flourish where documentation is limited. Standards are flexible, and investigations are conducted by those deeply invested in a particular outcome. As methods improve, claims become rarer. This does not mean belief is foolish. It means human beings are meaning-seeking creatures. Across all religions, people interpret experiences through the lenses they inherit. The real question is not whether God can act, but whether every extraordinary claim requires divine explanation. In an age of global cameras, satellite monitoring, and advanced medical diagnostics, claims of public physical miracles have become increasingly rare. The tools to verify have improved. The standards have risen. Perhaps what has changed is not divine action, but human understanding. This story is not about taking meaning away. It is about understanding how meaning is formed. Faith, when grounded in honesty and humility, does not fear investigation. Across religious traditions, wisdom texts warn against deception, exaggeration, and mistaking human error for divine intent. The miracles did not necessarily disappear. Our ability to explain the world simply grew stronger. And in that understanding, there is still room for wonder, for faith, and for awe.